We got ourselves Kevin Landers going to be first up over for the team. One, maybe not. Wait, backing up. Maybe there's making a bit of a switcheroo. That or maybe just backing away from Chicago, trying to get locked down by the Frost Sharks. Going to be a big spear opener, big damage for Kevin. Trinket out of Chicago. This is going to be full mad damage out of Kevin Landers. Chicago does end up walking away from the spear. Double stun lockdown onto Kevin though. Just trying to see if he can walk away from him. Kevin does get to reconnect back up. Using a defensive really early here though with that enraged regen. Chicago has a bunch of Frosty Sharks. I think blast firing out from the weapons every time they fight him, potentially with the new enchant. And actually, I wonder if the Frost enchant benefits in mastery too. I imagine it does. Does get himself a random ascendance proc, but it's not enough to crack through Kevin Landers just yet. Goes through the wolves joining in. That's gonna give you plenty of maelstrom to fight through the warrior, but the warrior is just relentless. Got himself the full reckless's big yellow blast is gonna connect though. Kevin better be really careful. Got himself a lot of damage output right now. Full recklessness at the ready with the Odin's Fury. Big bleed, got himself a reflect in case Chicago goes in for potentially Alien Blast, Frost Sharks, whatever you got going on. And it's going to be a quick charge by Kevin. Stormbolt onto Chicago. Kevin took a bit of damage. The Earth Elemental is going to be present for Chicago, giving him a little bit more health to work with. So it should be, for the most part, okay. Mad damage on Kevin. May have to go for a very defensive here. Going to be Ghost Raptors on him. But Chicago, oh, I think the Raptors with the Flame Shock does the passive damage that wasn't even Chicago at the end. Was able to take him down over time. With Riftflank's going to be up next. At least it looks like giving Chicago a bit of an honor duel here. I wonder if he'll give Chicago an opportunity to potential recovery in health. One heal. That's all he took. Had plenty of Maelstrom. Earth Shield. One heal. He's chilling. We'll see how it goes because Riftflank so far has been very good against magic classes, where he's been able to counter most magic users fairly easily. But Chicago is an interesting eclectic mix of absolute elemental damage and physical damage as well, between Storm Strikes, Wind Fury hits, as well as the Frost Shocks, LA Blast, Lightning Bolts. So it's going to be an interesting mix. I wonder if it ends up winning him the game or if it ends up losing, depending on how heavy he is on that elemental damage, I guess. And Chicago takes a lot of damage from the grippy hand. It's going to be ripping at him with Dome down for Rip, trying to get denied a lot of the magic damage as best as he can, but still his defenses are getting shattered little by little as the Army of the Dead does dissipate for Riftflank. So honestly, for Chicago, they may actually be in a such a good spot right now. There is an A-bomb also falling apart as well. So Riftflank's having to pop a big defensive there with a death pack may mean that he's falling behind versus Chicago. Try to see if he can catch up to Riftflank, so they could potentially maybe get a slow totem on him. Does get himself the Raptors join in, Sunder to follow as Rip does end up recovering from that death pack. AMS in order to deal with a lot of that magic damage, but that Ascendance is going to give Chicago a little bit mix of like magic and physical damage as well. Just burning through all the shields. Another Ascendance to follow right after. Just get himself lots of procs back to back with his Chain Lightnings over and over again. Riftflex may be in a bit of trouble actually. Oh, it does get Storm Strike down by Chicago. The mix of that lightning and physical damage, the striking of that storm just does work. With Kevin Landers going to be up next versus Chicago. Chicago tried to give him a little bit of a dance, but does need to go for a bit of recovery. Big hammer hanging over your head. Chicago does have a wall for it. Will need a lot of Maelstrom. Double stun onto Val. Maybe enough here. Barely surviving that hammer. Does need to go for survivability. Needs Maelstrom. In big need of Maelstrom, Val may just have you here. Val could take you down right now. Any moment. You're just so close. Battle Message Trinket falling off in the last second. You need Maelstrom right now. You got Wolfies coming back in. Ghost Raptors could be huge. Definitely needs Maelstrom. Has just enough mana. Needs to go for survivability. Shield Divider is up for Var, so he's going to use that in order to get some back damage onto Chicago. But it's going to be mad procs for Chicago. They're forcing out a bubble out of Var. Wait, maybe Chicago could potentially turn this around. You have a grounding totem. If you can ground a stun, I think you win this duel. A good go versus Var, but that hand of hindrance does slow you down by quite a bit. Var able to get himself quite a bit of defensives, trying to see if the Chicago will waste their time purging the defensive, and that's exactly what they're going to have to do, is going to be able to slam through his Blessing of Protection and just continue the damage, continue the pressure. Did use a wall in order to give himself a little bit of survivability. But now they have to fight against Chill Pills. Unholy Death of Chill Pills, so potentially a lot of pressure by these pets. But pets very controllable. Full army that they join in. Told him to root him down in place. Sunder into Chill Pills as he's separated by the army. Guys get himself the Earth Elemental, which Earth Elemental is actually going to do is going to randomly taunt, and some of those ghouls are going to start attacking the Earth Elemental over Chicago unless they just go down. Oh my god. Technically, the Earth Elemental should help you in that. But if the ghouls just stay on you for just a little bit longer, if you can go for a proper stun on the shaman while they're low, lock him down, those ghouls just need to get a couple of claw strikes in before they get taunted by the pet. As Dali going to be up next, Triples immediately pressing IB up versus Dali, trying to see if he can fight through the rogue. As the shaman held their own for a while, 3 people down, and it's going to be down to Chills and Diabolis to potentially bring it back for their team. It only taunts if you target the pets first. Really? Okay, never mind then. Apparently the pet is very, very specific in how it works. I had no idea. I thought it would just randomly radiate taunt. Had no clue. But apparently I'm wrong on that one. Chilpas is going to be trying to see if he can fight right through Dali. Evasion up for the rogue, but I don't know if he can really do much about it. Just got a clawing shadows right through him. Picking up eyes. I'm not really sure if he meant to do that at that point. But Stormlux is going to be up next. Stunned, but Chilpas trying to play it very, very defensive. Trying to be extra careful with the Shadow Priest because once they got full PI, once they got the full eruption, you're just trying to avoid all those bullets. That's going to be stunned with the Mind Games Raptor. Does go for a quick trinket in order to be able to break out of it. Lichborn as well. Wait, was that Trinket and Lichborn? Might have actually been. Stormlux, Shadow crashing around the corner. It is going to go connect with Chilpas. It is going to do a bit of damage. Chill does go for a big sacrifice on the pet together with the death pack, just trying to give himself a little bit extra health of a buffer. But it's not really health that he can recover efficiently, as he got a lot of those health, a lot of good portion of that health just necrotic out. Any healing he does will just get absorbed into the necrotic effect. Stormlux with a trinket, trying to see if he can break away from Chill, as it's going to be a bunch of these ghouls, a bunch of abominations, all these pets stunned out in the open. Nothing he can do, but I think it may just be over for Stormlux. Just absolutely overpowered by the army of the Scourge, and that's going to be a quick execute at the very, very end there too. As Chilpas does go from one to the next, was able to fight through Shaman as they're basically limping, but it was able to do work though. Did fight through the Rogue, having to fight through Shadow Priest, did that perfectly, but now has to fight through a Demonology Warlock. Big ol' Pitlord join in. Chilpas, maybe, does he have a stun for that thing? May need to go for a slow. Just try to see if he can go for as much self-healing as possible. That Pitlord just wrecking right through. The auto attacks for the Pitlord are just not feeling all that great. Trying to go for as much recovery as possible. That's a lot of physical damage for Chilpas to deal with. Back-to-back axe tosses, not feeling that great, but basically also not feeling that great either. Blinded to all the pets. Chilpas trying to give himself a bit of recovery. And that's going to be the army of his ghouls falling apart. But execute! Oh, no way! No way Chilpas to bring it back for the team. That was such a perfectly timed execute. He literally got him low enough, blinded, popped an execute, walked away, and just waiting. That was actually insane. My goodness. And Parasite is going to be up next, leaping around the corner. Chilpas does have a pre-MS for it, but there's only so much you can do, man. That Blade Dance is going to take ya. Wow, that was intense. Big Blade Dances that are Parasite though. If he can get himself another Essence Breaker to Diabolics with another Blade Dance, that's going to be super, super deadly. Shadow Mode for just a second. Try to go for a fear onto all these pets, separating the Warlock away from all the pets. But Diabolics at least making sure to keep the Curse of Exhaustion on the Demon Hunter at all times. Essence Break, missing it completely. Diabolics, perfect Trinket. That timing was amazing. It's going to be dropping down to Fellord around the corner, but Parasite walking out of it. Does Parasite have anything left here right now? He just needs a little bit, few more globes, maybe some healing, but looks like Diabolic just have taken him at the end. He's still holding on to that candle above his head. It is still lit. My goodness. Yo, Chilled brought it back for the team big time. Chicago played really, really well. That's a lot of healing, by the way, Chicago. That is a ton of healing. More healing than damage, by the way. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, dude.